I come before you to share some wisdom and knowledge about two of the most powerful black women that I have ever had to have learned about. The first one is Mary Bethune. As you know, she was an educator, an activist, and she was the one that made sure that black children could get to learn. They were not allowed to go to public school. So she started a school, and she was able to do that. She didn't have any funds like we have scholarship and people to help us today. Mary Bethune went around selling pies. I don't have any potato pies, but I brought a can of yam. But she would go out in the fields and they would make pies and sell them to raise money so that young girls could get an education. And they would sell the pies, and that's how they received money. And there was no way that she was going to allow this not to happen. And through many years, she was an activist for people's education, and she was also the founder of National Council of Negro Women that I am a part of today. And one of her saying was, leave no one behind, because you can able to learn, and we are able to learn. And if you get wisdom and you get knowledge, that you are able to learn. We are not a people that are not lack of knowledge. Because the Bible says we lack knowledge because we lack wisdom, because wisdom comes from God. And young people, a lot of our ancestors paid the price that we may be able to get an education. And through her life, she became she started at school. She was born in South Carolina, but she was able to go to Florida. And one of my dear family members is from Daytona, Florida. And her family came from there, and my son-in-law came from there. So in Daytona, there's a school that's named after Mary Bethune College. And it still exists today. And it was named after her because of the struggle that she had done to help inspire young people to get an education. So don't say that you can't do it, and don't say that you don't have the money. If you have the will, you can sustain what the society has put on us. It says the stigma that we are not able to learn and not able to progress and go to college, because a lot of them made a way for us to, our children and our ancestors, to get an education. They had to go read in the dark. They didn't want to allow to have books. They didn't have computers. They tell them everything. They had to go and read by lamp. But she didn't give up. So with the pies that she sold, she started the first school. And that school, they didn't have paid tuition because she made a way where they'd be able to get an education. And she laid the foundation for all of the young people back in the 1800s. And she passed it on to another one of my mentors, Dorothy Heigths. Dorothy Heigths was a Sora. Yeah. But anyway, she also was an activist. And I selected these women, African American women, because they laid the foundation for many other women. And they both knew, was able to start a program in the White House when Eleanor Roosevelt was the first lady there. And they were one of the few women who was able to get through to the first ladies to make sure that there was programs available for women to do. And we think about the women movement today, but there was a movement back then too. So she was able to get to Eleanor Roosevelt, and they were able to get seat at the table for our young people and for women. So just remember that when you see challenges coming your way, don't give up. Just hold out, and you will be able to sustain your dream. Whatever your dream, it may not come when you want it, but as the Bible said, the song said it would come on time when God sees fit for you to explore that. So I want to encourage you to continue, because Dorothy Heights stayed with the National Council of Negro Women, and she carried on the legacy that was brought forth by Mary Bethune. She has gone on. She was the president of National Council for Negro Women for many years. They said she would not let go. But when she passed on, someone else took the helm. And it has not expanded as it did under their administration. So there are, I think I was told by my daughter that Dr. Jeanette Cole is now the director and president of the National Council of Negro Women. And to share this with you, I used to go to Washington, D.C. every year to the national conference. And the National Council of Negro Women is the only one that have a building down on Pennsylvania Avenue. If you ever go to Washington, D.C., there is a building there that the National Council of Negro Women own. And our history is also in the museum there that's just been built, the African American Museum. So if you ever go to Washington, D.C., make sure that you go and visit those two sites. And also, I had inspired my daughter. I used to make her go to a meeting with me, and lo and behold, she's now in Atlanta, and she's also a member of the National Council of Negro Women. Mm-hmm. So I'm so proud of the legacy is being carried on. Yes, and I just want to share those two with you.
Yes. Thank you. Yes. Thank you, Dorothy and Mary. Young girls, were you listening to that? Were you listening to the women that paved the way so that you can have those iPads and go to school? Okay. So don't forget, go to school and make good grades. Say okay.
Okay.
Oh, I'll take my pie.
Help her girl, can you give this banana?
Thank you. We will be having yams that's already cooked.
Okay, next up we will have some entertainment. Coming to the stage is Mrs. Nikki, and she will give us a rendition of Diana Ross.
Oh, you got it?
You have music?
Yeah.
You want to put it with the speaker?